When someone still wants you in their life but is too proud, too hurt, or too unsure to reach out first, they start creating ways for you to notice them. It's not always obvious, but if you pay attention, the signs are there. They don't want to break no contact directly, but they also don't want you to forget about them. So, what do? They leave clues, little breadcrumbs, hoping you'll pick up on them and be the one to make the first move. One of the most common ways they do this is through social media. They know you might still check their profile from time to time, so they carefully curate their posts. Suddenly, they start posting things that seem oddly familiar. Maybe a song that was special to both of you, a quote that mirrors something they once told you, or even pictures that remind you of the good times. They're not directly saying anything to you, but the message is clear. Look at me. Remember us. Sometimes it's even more subtle. Maybe they start appearing in your feed more often because they're watching your stories, liking old posts, or even commenting on mutual friends' posts just to stay visible in your world. It's their way of saying, I'm still here, without actually saying it. They want to remind you of their presence, hoping you'll take the hint and be the one to reach out. Beyond social media, they might start showing up in places they know you frequent. Maybe they accidentally bump into you at your favorite coffee shop, or suddenly they start hanging out with friends they never cared about before, friends they know you still talk to. It's not random, it's intentional. They're placing themselves in situations where you'll see them, hear about them, or be reminded of them in some way. Another way they try to get your attention is by bringing up shared memories. Maybe they talk about a trip you took together or reference an inside joke, knowing that word will somehow get back to you. They might even casually ask mutual friends about you, making sure their interest is known without directly reaching out. It's all a game of subtlety, planting thoughts in your mind without making it seem like they're desperate for contact. Sometimes they take it a step further by using their emotions as a tool. If they're feeling sad, lonely, or regretful, they might post about it indirectly. Maybe a late night post about missing what once was, or something cryptic like, some things are hard to forget. They want to spark curiosity in you, make you wonder if they're talking about you, and ultimately get you to be the one to reach out. But here's where the real test comes in. Do they actually want to talk? Or do they just want reassurance that you still care? That's the difference between someone who genuinely wants to fix things and someone who just wants an ego boost. If they truly want to reconnect, they won't just play these games forever. They'll eventually take action. But if they're just testing your reaction, they'll keep up the hints without ever actually making a move. So before you fall for the trap and break no contact, ask yourself, is this someone who truly values you, or are they just seeking attention to feed their own emotions? Because if they really want you back, they won't just create opportunities for you to notice them. They'll take the next step and reach out themselves. If they don't, then maybe they just want the comfort of knowing you're still there, even if they don't have the courage to do anything about it. In the end, the choice is always yours, but remember, no contact is about power. If they truly miss you, they won't just drop hints, they'll take action. And if they don't, then maybe they were never meant to have another chance with you in the first place. When someone realizes they still want you in their life but can't bring themselves to break no contact, they start using indirect methods to reach you emotionally. One of the strongest ways they do this is through nostalgia. Memories hold power, and they know that. They remember the way you used to laugh at a certain joke, the way you both had that favorite late night spot, or how you always sent good morning texts. So what do? They start bringing up those moments, hoping to pull you back into the past. Maybe they post a picture from a trip you took together with no caption, just enough to make you wonder if they're thinking about you. Maybe they tweet a line from your favorite movie or a song that played during one of your best nights together. They won't tag you, won't mention your name, but the message is clear. I haven't forgotten. Have you? They want you to see it, feel something, and be the one to reach out. This nostalgia tactic doesn't just stop at social media. It can creep into mutual friends, casual conversations, or even places you used to go together. Suddenly, they're reminiscing about old times to a friend they know still talks to you. Remember that time we all went to that concert? Man, I haven't been to that restaurant since back in the day. These aren't just random thoughts. They're planted seeds. They're hoping word gets back to you, hoping you'll start missing them the way they miss you. And then there's the classic accidental reminder. They might accidentally leave something behind that forces a connection. Maybe you find an old hoodie of theirs at your place, or they conveniently forget to remove their login from a shared streaming account. Maybe they send a message meant for someone else but send it to you instead. An oops moment that just happens to lead to a conversation. But was it really an accident? Or was it a carefully placed way to get you thinking about them? Sometimes they take it further by trying to relive old patterns. They know the things that used to make you feel close, and they might try to subtly recreate those moments. If you always had a routine of texting each other at a certain time, they might start showing up online at that exact time, hoping you notice. If you had a song you both loved, they might start playing it in the background of a video or a story they post. They aren't reaching out, but they're pulling on your emotions, trying to get you to break no contact. And here's the thing. If you're not careful, nostalgia can be a dangerous trap. Because when someone brings up the best parts of your past together, it's easy to forget the reasons you walked away. You start missing the good times, reliving the laughter, the inside jokes, the moments that made you feel safe. But memories are tricky. They highlight the best moments and blur out the bad. They make you feel like you lost something irreplaceable, even when you know deep down there were reasons why things ended. So before you fall for the nostalgia trick, ask yourself, are they really missing me, or are they missing the comfort I gave them? Are they reaching out in a meaningful way, or are they just pulling strings from a distance, hoping I'll be the one to break first? Because if they truly wanted you back, they wouldn't just drop hints and hope you would know. They would take action. At the end of the day, no contact is about strength, about proving to yourself that you don't need to chase someone who isn't willing to step up. If they truly regret losing you, they'll find a way to fix it. If they don't, then nostalgia is just another way to keep you emotionally tied to something that no longer serves you. Stay strong. One of the biggest signs that your ex secretly wants you to contact them is when they start making themselves more visible in your life, whether directly or indirectly. When someone is struggling with no contact but doesn't want to make the first move, they find ways to be seen, noticed, and remembered. They might not send a message or call, but they will put themselves in places where you can't ignore their presence. One of the most common ways they do this is through social media. Suddenly, they start posting more than usual, especially if they weren't the type to be very active before. Their posts seem carefully curated. Whether it's showing off their new lifestyle, looking happier than ever, or subtly referencing things they know you'd notice. Maybe they post a picture from a place you used to go together, or they share a quote that seems just a little too personal to be random. They're sending signals, testing to see if you react, waiting to see if you'll break no contact first. Then there's the sudden appearance in your digital space. They might not text you directly, but they start liking your posts, watching your stories, or even commenting on mutual friends' posts where they know you'll see their name. It's their way of reminding you they're still around, still paying attention. And if they start interacting more than usual, reacting to your content but never actually reaching out, is because they want you to feel their presence without them having to make the first move. But it doesn't stop at social media. If they're truly struggling with no contact, they might start physically showing up in places where they know you'll be. Maybe they suddenly start hanging out at your favorite cafe, the gym you go to, or events where mutual friends will be. It might seem like a coincidence at first, but if it happens more than once, it's not random, it's intentional. They want to be seen, hoping that just maybe you'll take it as a sign to speak to them. Another powerful move they might pull is using mutual connections. If they know you still talk to certain people, they might start mentioning you in conversations, bringing up shared memories, or even directly asking about you. Mutual friends might suddenly tell you, hey, I ran into them the other day, and they were asking how you were doing. These moments are never accidental. They're testing the water, seeing if you still care, and hoping that the message gets back to you in a way that makes you want to reach out. And then there's the classic accidental contact. Maybe they send a random text that seems like it was meant for someone else just to start a conversation. Maybe they call and hang up quickly, making you wonder if it was a mistake or if they were hesitating to talk to you. They might even send something small, like a meme or a funny video, something that doesn't directly address the breakup but subtly reopens communication. It's a way to gauge your response without fully admitting they miss you. But here's where you need to be careful. Just because they're making themselves more visible doesn't always mean they truly want to fix things. Sometimes it's just their ego craving attention. They want to know you still care, that they still have an effect on you, even if they don't intend to change or make things right. That's why it's important to recognize the difference between someone genuinely missing you and someone who just doesn't want to feel forgotten. So before you respond, ask yourself, are they actually making an effort, or are they just trying to pull me back into their world on their terms? If they wanted real communication, they'd reach out in a direct, meaningful way, not just leave breadcrumbs, hoping you'll be the one to follow them. Stay strong in no contact and let them be the one to show whether they truly regret losing you. When someone truly regrets losing you, their actions will reveal their emotions far more than their words ever could. They might not explicitly say they want you back, but their behavior will show that they are struggling with your absence. The biggest sign of this is when they begin to seek validation in ways they never did before. They start putting extra effort into looking good, posting more frequently on social media, or even showing off their new and improved life. But deep down, all of it is just an attempt to prove to themselves and to you that they are fine without you. One of the most obvious ways this manifests is through sudden changes in their lifestyle. Maybe they pick up a new hobby, start traveling, or immerse themselves in activities they never showed interest in before. On the surface, it looks like they've moved on and are thriving, but if you look deeper, you'll see the cracks. These changes aren't necessarily for their own growth, but rather a performance designed to make you take notice. They want you to wonder if they've changed, if they've become the kind of person you'd want to be with again. It's an attempt to create curiosity, to make you feel like maybe you left too soon, or that they're now the person you always wanted them to be. But the reality is, if they truly had grown, they wouldn't need to prove it to anyone. Genuine self-improvement happens in silence without the need for an audience. So when someone is constantly showcasing their growth, it's often because they want you to see it. They want you to feel like you're missing out, that maybe you should be the one regretting the breakup. It's a silent way of pulling you back into their orbit, hoping you'll break no contact and reach out. Another way they seek validation is by trying to get a reaction from you, either through indirect communication or by testing your emotional attachment. They might post quotes about heartbreak, share memories from your past, or even mention things they know will remind you of them. These aren't coincidences. They're carefully placed signals designed to make you feel something. Even if they don't explicitly say they miss you, their actions betray their feelings. Then there's the classic move of trying to make you jealous. They might start publicly dating someone new, excessively flaunting their new relationship, or making sure you hear about it through mutual friends. But if you pay attention, you'll notice that these new relationships often seem forced or rushed. That's because they're not necessarily about finding happiness, it's about proving a point. It's about making you think, did I make the wrong choice? But true healing and moving on don't require an audience. If they were genuinely happy in their new life, they wouldn't feel the need to show it off in a way that seems deliberately targeted at you. Sometimes, their need for validation turns into direct attempts to gauge your feelings. They might start liking your posts again, responding to things they ignored before, or even reaching out under the pretense of something casual, like asking about an old belonging or pretending they found something that reminded them of you. They do this because they want to know if they still have access to your emotions, if you still care enough to respond. They don't necessarily want to reconcile right away, but they don't want to feel like they've completely lost their hold on you either. This is where you have to be careful. Just because they're seeking validation doesn't mean they truly want to fix things. Sometimes people just want to soothe their ego. They don't like the idea that you've moved on without them, so they test the waters to see if they can still affect you. But ask yourself, if they truly regretted losing me, wouldn't their actions be more intentional? Wouldn't they actually work to make things right instead of just trying to get my attention? A person who truly regrets losing you won't just play games to get your reaction. They won't just seek validation for their own ego. They'll make an effort, a real one, to acknowledge their mistakes and prove that they've changed in a meaningful way. They won't need to use social media jealousy tactics or breadcrumbs to keep you emotionally tied to them. Instead, they'll approach you directly, take responsibility, and show through consistent actions that they want to rebuild what was lost. So when you see them desperately seeking validation, recognize it for what it is. It's not love, it's not regret, it's fear. Fear of losing the control they once had over you. The best thing you can do is remain strong, stay in no contact, and let them show through their actions whether they truly deserve another chance. When someone realizes they've lost someone valuable, their immediate instinct is often to test whether the door is truly closed. They may not have appreciated what they had when they had it, but now that it's gone, they are desperate to see if they still hold any power over you. They begin with subtle attempts, small actions designed to pull you back in without making it obvious. Maybe they start watching your stories, liking your posts, or even leaving indirect comments that hint at nostalgia or regret. These small gestures might seem harmless, but they serve a greater purpose. They want to know if you're still emotionally available. They want to see if they can still get a reaction from you. But here's the key. When you refuse to engage, when you don't give them the validation they're seeking, it drives them insane. Suddenly, they're faced with a reality they never expected. You're not chasing them, you're not giving in, and worst of all, you're not even acknowledging their presence. This is where they start to panic, because for the first time, they are truly feeling the weight of their loss. They might have thought they had all the time in the world to come back whenever they wanted, but your silence tells them otherwise. That's when their efforts escalate. They can't stand the fact that you've detached, so they start to make bolder moves. Maybe they reach out directly, but instead of apologizing or admitting they miss you, they mask it under a casual excuse, asking about an old belonging, bringing up an inside joke, or even pretending they just wanted to check on you. They don't do this because they genuinely care. They do it because they need to see if they can still affect you. If you respond, even with something as simple as "hope you're doing well," they take it as confirmation that you're still emotionally invested. But if you ignore them or remain indifferent, that's when they truly start to spiral. They can't handle the thought that you've moved on without them. It wasn't supposed to be this way. They assumed you'd always be there, waiting in the background, ready to welcome them back when they decided they were ready. But now they're realizing that they miscalculated. That's when they start to regret, not just losing you, but taking you for granted in the first place. They start replaying the past, questioning where they went wrong, wondering if they made the biggest mistake of their life. And deep down, they know they did. This is when desperation kicks in. They might try to make you jealous, hoping to provoke a reaction. Maybe they suddenly start dating someone new and make sure you see it, but the truth is they're not really happy. They're trying to fill the void you left, but no matter who they're with, it's not the same. That's why they keep checking your social media, why they find ways to mention your name to mutual friends, why they suddenly start reminiscing about the past. They want to make it seem like they're moving on, but in reality, they're stuck. Because while you're truly growing and evolving, they're stuck in the cycle of trying to undo the damage they caused. But here's the beauty of it all. By the time they realize what they lost, it's too late. You're no longer the same person they walked away from. You're stronger, wiser, and more self-assured. You no longer need their validation, their attention, or their half-hearted attempts at making amends. You've moved on. Not because you were trying to punish them, but because you finally realized your worth. And that is what truly makes them suffer. Not your anger, not your revenge, but your absence. The fact that you no longer look back, that you no longer wait, that you are no longer accessible to them, that is what haunts them. That is what forces them to sit with their regrets. Because now they understand that they had something rare, something valuable, something real, and they lost it. Not because of anything you did, but because of their own choices. So let them feel it. Let them sit in the silence they created. Because the greatest lesson they'll ever learn is that once a real woman decides she's done, there's no going back. When a man realizes he's lost someone irreplaceable, his mind goes into overdrive trying to process what happened. At first, he might try to convince himself that he doesn't care, that he can easily replace you, that life moves on. But deep down, something unsettles him. He starts to notice the emptiness, the silence, the absence of what was once familiar. He no longer has access to the comfort you provided, the understanding you offered, or the energy that only you brought into his life. And that's when reality starts hitting him hard, because it's not just about missing you. It's about realizing that he had something truly rare and he let it slip away. At first, he tries to distract himself. Maybe he throws himself into work, spends more time with friends, or even jumps into another relationship, thinking that someone new will help him forget. But the problem is, Distractions only work temporarily. No matter how hard he tries to convince himself that he's fine, he starts to notice the difference. The new person doesn't understand him like you did. She doesn't have your depth, your strength, your presence. And slowly he starts comparing. Every little thing reminds him of you. Whether he wants to admit it or not, that's when he starts testing the waters. He doesn't want to come out and admit he made a mistake because that would mean swallowing his pride. So instead, he finds small ways to check if you're still there. Maybe he starts watching your social media, liking old pictures, or even sending a random message that doesn't say much but is designed to get your attention. He's looking for signs that you're still emotionally available, that you haven't truly moved on. Because the one thing he fears the most is the idea that you no longer care. But when he realizes that you're not responding, that you're not engaging, that you're genuinely unbothered, that's when it starts to eat at him. He expected you to be waiting, to be hoping for a reconciliation, to be just as lost as he is. But you're not. You've shifted your focus. You've embraced your worth. You've moved forward. Not because you wanted to hurt him, but because you finally understood that you deserve better than someone who didn't appreciate you when he had the chance. This is where the regret truly sets in. He replays the past over and over, looking for the moment where he lost you. He starts questioning himself. Why did he take you for granted? Why didn't he see your value sooner? He begins to realize that it wasn't you who lost someone valuable. It was him. You were the one who brought loyalty, depth, and strength into his life. You were the one who supported him, believed in him, stood by him. And now that you're gone, he sees the void you left behind. As this realization grows, he may try one last desperate attempt to pull you back. Maybe he suddenly sends a long message, confessing everything he should have said earlier. Maybe he apologizes, hoping that if he admits his mistakes, you'll give him another chance. Maybe he even tries to manipulate the situation, pretending he's the one who's changed, acting like he finally understands your worth. But by this point, it's not about him anymore, it's about you. And that's where true power lies, when you no longer need to respond. When you no longer crave his validation, when you no longer seek closure because you've already found it within yourself. That's what truly makes him suffer. Not your anger, not your revenge, but your indifference. Because nothing is more painful than realizing that the person who once had, the person who loved you deeply, who gave you their best, has now become a version of themselves that no longer needs you. So let him feel it. Let him sit with his regrets. Because the greatest lesson he'll ever learn is that once a woman who truly loved him moves on, there's no coming back.